South, Ronnie Perez and Mark Coronado. Guys, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
Yeah, this is definitely a first for us. We haven't had athletic trainers on here, and I know Ronnie had reached out to me a couple weeks ago, and then Mark, I think it was just a couple of days ago, he had reached out with the idea, and I said, yeah, sure. You guys are just as important as everyone else, and throughout this pandemic, and you guys have been affected, again, just as much as I have, and as much as the coaches and the athletes have. So, what have you guys been up to this last month?
Well, it was a real shocker not to be able to come back to school. Here we thought we were just going to have spring break off and then come back, and all sports have been canceled and school's been canceled. So it was kind of just strange. And this whole month, we've actually been meeting with our athletic director weekly and just kind of getting some stuff done as far as rehab with kids and making sure they're doing okay at home and stuff like that.
Mark, I think, is plugging in his charger there. He doesn't want to.
Yeah, I'm noticing the computer wasn't charging. Sorry about that.
There you go. You're good.
I was a little shocked also. I came back, I was covering spring break practices and getting ready for a couple of games. And then we get a little notification that, by the way, because of what's going on with COVID-19, school's going to be closing down. We're not too sure what time you're going to be coming back. It did not give me a chance to do much of shutting down of anything. They gave us one day to come back and shut everything down. If you had a refrigerator or whatever, unplug or what have you. And that's when it kind of set in. It's like, wow, this is real. So,
as far as being at home, obviously, that was a little difficult for all of us. You guys pick up on any hobbies or anything like that outside of work while you guys were home?
I know we've been watching a lot of movies and TV stuff, like catching up on Netflix. I know that for sure. And then Disney Plus stuff on Disney Plus, like all the Star Wars and stuff for me.
I finally got a chance to catch up on Star Wars, but the stuff to do at home never finishes. I finally had a chance to work on my yard, which that's my stress debriefer. I cleaned up the yard, edge up the yard, work on the trees, and made a couple of plans about maybe creating like a gazebo style type thing. But that's all in the works,
There you go. As we can see, you guys are back at school. You all mentioned that this is y'all's first day back since right around spring break, more or less.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how did the district let you guys know that this would be the date that you guys were going to be coming back to school, or how did that work out for you all?
Well, Mark and I are both considered administrators here at Harlingen CISD, but we're also considered non-teaching professionals. So last week, all the administrators came back to work, I guess, to get stuff situated on their end, and then Zoom. We had Zoom meetings. We have staff meetings on Zoom and stuff, and with our AD, and he informed us that on May 11th, we were going to come back to work as non-teaching professionals. And actually this week, we're also having a equipment pickup during this week. So most of our coaches have been here today as far as cleaning out lockers and picking up stuff from kids and stuff like that, getting their stuff situated. So we're going to start passing out all that equipment out tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, over at the field house, it looks like little worker ants that are just going back and forth from one locker room to another because the kids have locker rooms or lockers in different areas, bagging everything, tagging everything, making sure that the notes that we're going to place with the equipment or their personal clothing also have a note that how to log back in and do their rank 1 information for next school year. We're keeping our fingers crossed, and hopefully sports will resume next school year.
And when you're talking about are you talking about the athletes, the spring sport athletes, or y'all student trainers? When you guys are...
Everybody, actually, anybody who's in athletics or anybody who's in sports, they can come pick up their equipment this week and stuff.
Ronnie, you mentioned about there was some news about the UIL with as far as the physicals go. What information?
Yes, on May 1st, the UIL medical committee had I guess you could say they had decided to change the way we do physicals for next year. I guess because all these doctors are so busy with this COVID-19 stuff that a lot of doctors aren't seeing kids, and physicals are not a priority when it comes to a doctor's office. So they sent that off to the Legislative Council for UIL, and it got approved that on May 1st, they decided that physicals that were from this, whoever took a physical this year, their physicals will be good next year as well. As far as athletics, the only ones that would be needing a physical to come participate in athletics will be our incoming 7th graders. And for band, I think it's the 9th graders that have to take a physical. For athletics, only 7th graders will be needing to take a physical in order to participate in athletics.
So it seems like you guys have your work cut out for you guys. I know because some people are maybe confused and say, well, there hasn't been any athletics, so what work could be going around there at the field house? But it seems like you guys are quite busy. What else do you guys have on y'all's agenda aside from equipment check-ins? Or is there any other paperwork or anything like that you guys have to do?
Well, since we've been off, we've actually been busy and been working from home. Mark can tell you, we've actually revamped our concussion protocol. So we did that over the break as well that we had. So we actually are posting our new concussion protocol actually today on our HCISD website. We've been busy, like just doing a lot of updates as far as our paperwork and stuff like that on our websites.
We've also stayed in touch with some of our athletes. I had 3 that were rehabbing and are still rehabbing for ACL injuries. So I still have to reach out to them and see how they're doing on a weekly basis, and even send out a rehab plan and touch base with them, see how they're doing on that rehab plan. If it's helping them improve, if it's not working out for them, redo a rehab plan for them specifically. So we still stay busy. Also keeping up with CEs since SPATS has been canceled because of COVID. We still have to do our continuing education to try and stay up on the latest, not to just recertify, but also stay up on the latest on athletic training. So that's what I've been doing also.
Yeah, that was one of my next questions was, we've seen coaches get a hold of their athletes through Zoom, football coaches in particular having Zoom meetings, coaches themselves having Zoom meetings. How have you guys, like Mark mentioned, been able to keep in touch with your athletes as far as training? Because we've seen virtual learning, we've seen virtual meetings like this, but virtual training, is that a thing these days for you guys?
I want to say for some athletic trainers it is. And I know some athletic trainers are using, we've actually had a Zoom meeting with all the athletic trainers in the Valley twice already, last week and the week before. And some trainers are actually using Zoom to do their rehab. Some trainers are using Google Classroom, and they're using a lot of different apps as far as doing their rehab with their kids. We were just fortunate that actually Mark has 3 ACL kids that he's rehabbing right now currently, but he's communicating with them through email and calls them as well. Unfortunately for me, I only had 1 ACL that we were rehabbing at the moment, but he's already on his last month. So he's on his last month of clearance. So all he really needs to do is work on a lot of leg strength in order to get cleared.
Definitely.
Yeah, for me, I'm using a program called Hep to Go. And the nice thing about that is we can send them a link and they can click on it and be able to see an exercise be done. Haven't had one of them tell me that they don't know what they're doing, so they're doing great so far. That's the nice thing about it. They had already kind of progressed very well, and they should be on the tail end of rehab already.
That's good. Let's shift gears a little bit and wind the clock back to when this pandemic got started. I know when we first started hearing rumors about it, most of us, myself, was just kind of, I heard of it, but I wasn't too worried about it. And then I kind of thought maybe people were overreacting just a little bit, didn't take it too serious until things started getting serious that week before spring break. What was y'all's reaction once the UIL made that first ruling where there was going to be no practices and no games till at least the 29th? Was that a surreal moment for you guys?
Most definitely. This has never happened before. at least not with us. So we didn't really know how to deal with it. Us, especially with our coaches, because we were ready for ours. We were just in the midst of softball season going in full swing, baseball going in full swing, track was still going on, swimming. We were having actually water polo was already going on as well too. So we had a lot of stuff already going on right now. So it was just like, what? What do you mean we're not going to be able to, have softball games or this and that or practices? We're just kind of just waiting because we don't really know what UIL was going to say. So we had to wait till UIL, mentioned anything as far as cancellations, no practices, no spring football and stuff like that.
Yeah, for me, I mean, one of our co-trainers over at Gano and I, Joey was we were joking around. One of his games that he was going to help me cover got moved around, and then it got canceled. And I'm like, well, Joey, you got good luck, And then another one came around, and it's like, again, he was covering that game, and I told him, it's like, man, it looks like your games are being canceled. And then we get a notification. By the way, everything's been canceled. It's been put on hold. And I'm like, what do you mean it's been put on hold? So I was thinking is like, okay, well, we'll be out about a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then we're gonna have to play catch up. We're gonna have to somehow make up district games. We're gonna be in this sprinting. There's no marathon here. We're gonna be sprinting onto everything. And little by little, it was like it sunk in. No, we're not going back this year. So right now, I mean, we're just wondering if we're going to have something in the summer, and keeping our fingers crossed for spring. I mean, or for the fall, sorry, for the fall, and see how that goes.
The second date was May 4th, and from when we heard that, I think that was like late March, maybe early April. And I figured, okay, I think maybe in a month things should be a little bit better. And I know UIO had some solutions that we had heard through the grapevine as far as softball and baseball goes on maybe how to continue the season. But once I saw that the schools were done indefinitely when Governor Abbott announced that, the first thing in my head was, okay, sports is next. I thought it was inevitable by then. So it's just a matter of waiting around to hear the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. What was you guys' reaction because it's one thing to hear the what ifs, but to finally hear the official word was really, set in. What was you guys' reaction?
Well, for me, I know before we got let out for spring break, we had already heard that week, like Los Fresnos is in our district. So Los Fresnos had canceled everything indefinitely for the rest of the school year already before we got let out for spring break. And that was like, I think the Wednesday before spring break. And we were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Maybe they're jumping the gun too quickly. But once we heard from Governor Abbott, it was just kind of, I don't know, it was just shocking because we've never gone through anything like this before. I've never gone through a season with no sports going on, not even practice, no spring football. You see kids on a daily basis. It's kind of shocking, and you miss the kids.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way with Ronnie. When they told us, hey, we're not coming back, I had to go out to the baseball field because I knew there was a practice going on, and went and told the kids, it's like, hey, I'm not too sure if you guys have been notified by your coaches, but practices have been suspended. It looks like we might not be coming back to practices anytime soon. So go through your app and double check with your coaches. But on the way home is when it actually sunk in. It's like everything got put on hold. And I'm thinking, well, are we going back? Los Fresnos, she mentioned Los Fresnos, and they were the first to cancel everything. And off the top of my head, I really thought they were jumping the gun prematurely. But as everything started settling in and it seemed like COVID was entering Texas and it was starting to make its way down to the valley, it just became more of a reality. Down through hearsay and what have you, there was rumors that, well, no, COVID doesn't survive in such hot temperatures. But when the numbers started going up here in the valley, I was like, no, yeah, it does survive. And we're going to have to start taking precautions.
And as far as, the off-season program, now that we're obviously an extended off-season, have you all as trainers maybe come up with some sort of plan for the athletes to maybe keep in touch with you guys as they go through the off-season?
I know, like for our football program, I know Coach Richie has a Zoom program and they have a virtual weight room. So they've been doing a virtual weight room daily at a certain time. So coaches are online while we're watching these kids work out at home. And also, it's just basically just doing that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just been kind of strange because this is something so fairly new to us that we really don't know how we're doing certain things. But it's just something that we're all kind of getting used to, and I don't know. It's just real neat that we're able to still communicate with the kids even though they're not here.
Yeah, that's the same thing with us, or with me that I'll log into the virtual weight room and see how everyone's doing. But it is a little different. I'm more of a face-to-face person, drop in, check in. But now to do it through a computer and actually see them through a video, and then if there's a question, answer them through a video. The whole telemedicine thing, starts coming to mind, that it was once talked about and now it's here. That's going to be the whole telemedicine thing that we're going to have to do if there's a question.
Definitely. Talking about sports, and right now we're in the middle of May, we'd be having baseball playoffs, maybe, softball playoffs right around there, track. We still have June, July. I think the one thing that football and volleyball have that these other sports didn't was time. And we're all hoping by, was it August 1st? It's first day for volleyball workouts. August 6th is football. So hoping by then, I'm hoping everything can go back to normal. Do you guys feel, from a medical standpoint, we're kind of getting on pace to where sports can start on time?
For me, I'm not sure. I'm just kind of playing the waiting game as far as what UIL decides. I mean, we've heard a lot of rumors, so we don't really know what's going to happen. I know I've read a note that UIL had put out that they're actually watching to see what the NFL and the NCAA are doing first before they can decide as to what we're going to do. I think they're trying not to jump the gun too soon, So it's kind of, I'm hoping that it would come back. But to tell you, to be realistic, I'm not quite sure if it will happen.
Yeah, I'm in the same page. We do know that UIL is looking at the pros to see how they're going to do, and see if sports is going to be a reality for us as far as how it's going to take place. I've heard different things of where it's only going to be the athletes, no fans. That would be kind of weird. It'd be kind of quiet, but that doesn't eliminate different scenarios of still coming into contact with each other as far as the athletes go, which is the biggest safety issue. And I think it's smart that they're playing it by ear and watching what everyone else is going to do and trying to see the scenarios that can play out first before we go and say, yes, there's going to be sports, because we haven't seen the end of this. We know that it can spike back up, and that's what we're trying to prevent. I think it was, I'm not exactly sure where I heard it, that if this spikes back up, we might go through another shutting down the school and do a clean again and stuff like that. But if we can prevent it by being cautious, then I think it's to everyone's advantage, especially the students. They don't want to be at home. I know they don't want to be at home. There's a lot of them that say, hey, enough is enough. We've taken our break already. Let's go back. They want to definitely play. So for sure, we just got to see what everything's going to play out and how we can go back to sports and school and everything else safely.
Yeah, and it's totally different at our level too, Kevin, because I mean, at the high school level, it's different than from NCAA where they only have, maybe 90 kids out there playing football or practicing with football when we have 250 kids outside to, when you have your varsity, your JV light kids, your freshman kids outside, we have a lot more numbers than the NFL and the NCAA. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's really hard to see us trying to keep all that from spreading. Like now we're even when we met with our other athletic trainers in the valley, you're even discussing we use a lot of water bottles during practices and games and our water cows. How are we going to keep the kids from using those because it can spread? Um, we tell every kid to bring their own water jug? Do we use cups? Because the cups is just a huge mess and totally, it's a whole different thing.
Mhm.
Um, just trying to get, things. How do we make the return to play protocol after one of our kids does have COVID-19? How do we acclimatize him back or her? You know what I mean? It's a lot of different things that we have to take into consideration as well. Even the number of kids that come into the training room, do we only allow 2, 3 kids to come at the training room at a time and let the other ones sit outside, make sure they're sitting 6 feet apart? It's little things like that because sometimes in our training rooms we have about 12 to 15 kids in the training room at one time doing rehab, some doing treatments, some were doing evaluations. It's just a lot of little things that we're having to consider now.
Yeah, not only that, but you guys also have student trainers as well that are as active and as on the sidelines. And if we're talking, a football game or a volleyball game with no fans, and it would just be the players, two trainers, or would there be a limited amount of student trainers, or would they even allow the student trainers? Or what do you guys think? If we were to get to that point where there would be no fans, how would you guys have to handle it?
I'm not sure. I mean, because we need the help as far as covering all our kids, and our student trainers are great help for covering sports as well. There's only 2 of us, and we have 800 athletes here at Harlingen South alone, and that's over 75% of our school here. Um, and it's without the student trainers' help, it becomes very very difficult. As you know, we're one of the schools that has a high enrollment of student trainers, and we have a minimum of 15 to 20 kids every year, and for them not to be able to help us, it's going to be hard on both of us taking care of all those kids.
Yeah, they really play an important role with us. They are our eyes, our ears at any other site. And if somebody does get hurt, them being able to reach us and letting us know, that there's been an injury, is real important. Without having those eyes and ears, we're flying blind.
Another possibility too is that the seasons just could be pushed back a month or so. How would that affect you guys, or would just kind of just be you're like me, just going with the times, and as soon as sports gets going, we get going?
Yeah, we just got to go with the flow. If we start a month later or two, hey, we're still going to go on and we're still getting stuff ready at the same time.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to be where again our student trainers come into play, because if the seasons are pushed back a little bit, they're going to overlap that much more, and that's where we're going to need their help a lot more also. But at the same time, their safety is a big factor. Just like any of our athletes, their safety is also a big factor. So it's a wait and see game.
So we're gonna switch gears just a little bit, and we're gonna wind back the clock and talk about you guys' careers, and just a couple of the stops you've made, and what made you guys want to get into athletic training. So Mark, we'll start with you.
Oh my, mine goes back to, well, I'm also a medic. I'm not just an athletic trainer. I hold 2 certifications. I hold my license in sports medicine, and of course my certification in EMT. And I think it's just EMT ended up already taking its toll on me to where I wanted to do something different. Wanted to see the other side, not just stabilize and package and deliver to the ER. Get to be the on the other end of it. Um, so being around sports, I enjoyed watching sports. Not much of a player. I won't claim to be an athlete, but I enjoy watching, and seeing the injuries and wondering, how do you bring back an athlete and get them back better, was on my mind. And I remember Coach Height was over in Lyford when I was there helping out watching a game once. And he told me, he goes, why don't you do athletic training? And I thought about it, researched a little bit, and that was the next step towards finishing my degree. So I got into it. I started off at A&M Corpus Christi and transferred to A&M Kingsville because they have football, and a lot of your injuries are going to be football related. Your bigger injuries are going to be football related. And that hands-on is the type of person I am. I'm not much for just lecture. I got to be able to do hands-on, to understand everything that's going on. And that led me to being an athletic trainer.
And you were in Raymondville, right, before you came to Harlingen South?
Yes, I was in Raymondville. Took a slight sabbatical, went over to another little school before Ronnie calling me up and letting me know that this position was open. And I applied for the position, and thankfully, I was selected and got started here.
And Ronnie, I know you have some Valley ties. You made a couple stops in the Valley. Just tell us, where you got started and what made you want to join the medical field.
Well, when it all started for me, I'm from Donna. So I went to Donna High School, and I actually was friends with Mark in high school, my freshman and sophomore year. We went to Med High I went to Med High for 2 years and then transferred back to Donna High, and I just ended up falling into the training room there because I was running cross country. Yeah, Mark, I know it's running cross country, and ran into the trainer there, and his name was Javier Banuelos, and he's now at Weslaco East. And I got to say that he's probably the guy that inspired me to become an athletic trainer and pushed me towards it, and I've loved it ever since. Went to UTPA at the time to go to school. I was originally going to go to the University of Houston, but I had some family dilemmas where my mom got ill, so I decided to stay and go to UTPA. And he's like, well, if you're going to go to UTPA, why don't you just become a student trainer there as well, too? Sure. So he got me in touch with Jim Lancaster from UTPA, and I graduated from there and passed my licensing exam, and was at Donna for a while. I was actually coaching and teaching at Donna and helping out Javi as a helper for athletic training, and then got the job here at Harlingen South. One of the trainers had left in the month of April, and got the job here, and been loving it ever since. I got to be at Donna High with Coach Dave Evans, and that's why I know Mark Evans, Mike Evans, all those guys, Coach Burgett. I was with Coach Burgett there at Donna High. So I know all those guys there that are at Weslaco East as well. Got the job Lerma here at South and been here ever since. My 18th year already going here at South.
Definitely. I know around this time, Ronnie, you and I would be baking in the sun somewhere in Corpus, most likely Cabanis.
Yep, that's where we first met. We met at Cabanis Field, where we had 3 games there back to back every week. That 1 year we were over there for 3 weeks. I was like, oh my gosh, it was terrible. It was hot.
It was hot, and I think Cabanis was still grass and dirt.
Oh, so grass.
There's dirt everywhere, and it was. Yeah, I think that first year, that's when South y'all played Brennan, or was it South San Antonio? Well, those 2 games back to back. Yeah, that's when we first met, baking in the sun. Ever since then, Cabanis has been a home away from home for Harlingen South and myself, especially this time of year with the softball team.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I always laugh at Coach Martinez. He actually just came in a little while ago. A lot of when he does the flip, he wants to play at Cabanis, and it's like, Coach, don't these other teams know that that's like our home away from home?
Seriously.
I mean, we play really well there.
There's a lot of good juju there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Yep. And I know, we actually had Coach Martinez on our show. I think it was actually a week ago today. Him, Coach Iris Iglesias, Debbie Esparza, and Coach Richard Tressler. We were able to have them on our show, so we got to just dive into some history of softball. And Coach Martinez, it took him a little while to get on, but albeit he got on, and he gave me a call before. He's like, "How do you work this thing?" And I was like, "Well," it's like,
yeah, Coach Martinez is funny. He's still learning how to turn on his computer.
Yeah, yeah. I'm surprised he knows how to use a GIF. When I text him, he uses GIFs when he texts. I was like, wow, I was pretty impressed. But
Yeah.
we're joined by Mark Coronado and Ronnie Perez, both student trainers at Harlingen South. Guys, before we wrap up, any message you'd like to give to your athletes, whether it's an encouragement or just maybe a way to just a couple tips on how to keep up with their bodies or anything like that?
Yeah, we just if they want to follow us on our social media pages, we do have social media pages for our student trainer program and for our sports medicine program. So we post exercises, nutritional facts on there, rehab exercises if they want to do some. They can follow us on social media. But yeah, it's really heartbreaking. We miss all our kids, especially my little senior group. I was real close with my I've been real close with all my groups, my volleyball players, my basketball players, my softball players. And it's really hard with my softball player because I have two student trainers that also play on my softball team, which are studs on our softball team. And man, I was really looking forward to seeing them play this year and see Katana hit them balls out of the park and Alexa Salcedo. I was really looking forward to the season, and it just got all put on hold.
Yeah.
Yeah, on my part, I'm just want to tell all our athletes, just stay strong. They need to continue working out, watch what they eat. I've seen them on the virtual weight room, so I know that they're working hard and staying in shape because sports is going to continue. We are going to come back to sports, and we don't exactly know exactly what time. We might start on time, we might start a little bit later, but we are going to have sports, and most definitely want to see everybody back healthy, and strong and ready to go. We may have to start, we may have a sprint when we get back into sports to catch up with a lot of things. So we definitely want to make sure that everyone's ready to go.
One good thing I'm sure you guys would be proud of is that a lot of the kids that come on here, they've all made it clear that having a healthy schedule, that with them being at home, they've emphasized that they'll do their workouts in the morning, their schoolwork during the day, and then whatever sport they play, they'll do workouts for that in the evening. Or some kids do school in the morning, workouts in the afternoon. So these kids have found they've adjusted. They've adjusted from home, and that's one thing that's been common that I've been hearing from these athletes is they've created some kind of healthy schedule. And some of these kids say, "I wake up at 6 a.m." I guess it may just be creatures of habit, but that's a good thing to see from these kids.
Yep.
Yes, definitely.
So that's these are our second show of the day. Later today, we're going to be joined by Eric Pizzato and Tyler Bush, former Rio Bobcats. Eric Pizzato currently playing football up at Lamar. Tyler Bush is at UTSA. So we're going to be joined by them later today at 5. Mark, Ronnie, it was fun. Good catching up with you guys. Thanks for taking the time out of y'all's schedule. And you guys continue to be safe. And again, thank you for everything that you guys do. We're out there doing our thing. The kids are doing theirs. And then there's the trainers right there. They're as much in the front lines as we are.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kevin.
Kevin.
See you guys.